Teenagers 15 years or so now eligible for vaccination. I assume consent will have to be given by their parents.
Absolutely. Verbal consent will have to be given. It is important for us to start vaccinating the teenagers. You realize that our overall goal towards herd immunity is to vaccinate 30 million people, fully vaccinate 30 million people before the end of next year. The adult population is 27 million. So to achieve that, we would need to vaccinate. Secondly, remember these are the main carriers. They may not suffer, but they're the ones who light fire everywhere. So by them getting vaccinated starts reducing transmission. So our plan started today. Tomorrow we'll hear. We started vaccinating. Our guidance is that verbal consent must be given by either the guardian or the parent. And once that is given, they get vaccinated. We have started by vaccinating at our vaccination sites. Once we put every system into place, consideration on how we work with the Ministry of Education and colleges then to do more vaccination outreaches there, that will be done.
So what sort of age groups or age sets are we working with? 12 to 15, 15 to 18? Just clarify this for us.
Yeah, I want to clarify that the Pharmacy and Poisons Board gave or amended the emergency use authorization for Pfizer based on data that was given by FDA and the WHO review of the same, and it approves 12 to 18 year old, 12 to 17, so call it up to the age of 18. Now, for us in Kenya, we strategically decided to start with 15, 16, and 17 year old. You realize that there are about 5.7 million of them. So this we have prioritized to start with them before we come down to 12 years. But already the emergency use approval for their use up to 12 years is there. But for the time being, they will have the 12-year, 13 and 14 will have to wait on the queue.
Okay. How will this vaccination strategy be rolled out? Are you going to take the vaccines to schools? Are you going to ask 15-year-olds and above to go to medical centers and so forth? How will this work?
To start with, as we started today, they are going to go to vaccination centers. When you go to the Chanjo system, you can see all the vaccination centers that Pfizer has. And they are spread across the entire country. But as the demand grows, then we are going to take that strategy of going to colleges in particular and schools.
Verbal consent on phone, in person?
In person will be preferred. On phone will also be accepted. But again, we are going to really streamline that as we roll it out. Okay.
For parents watching this program this evening saying, with all the vaccine information and misinformation that I have had, I don't see why my 15-year-old should be vaccinated. How would you allay their deepest fears?
First, I want to say misinformation kills. And disinformation has killed even in this country around the issues of vaccine. These vaccines are safe. They're effective. They are already being used in that age group across the globe. The US, in Europe, already are using this. Even here in Africa, now Rwanda has joined us. They're also rolling it out from today, just like us. So, and basically, it is just the way it elicits that immune response in the adults that it works even in the young population.
What sort of side effects do you expect to see from teenagers? What's the research showing?
The research is the same data. We get that usually things to do with headache, slight fever will be there, pain at the injection site could be there, and just general malaise, feeling generally weak. But just like in adults, it subsides within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, let me take you to the bigger conversation that's been going around since Sunday. The no jab, no service directive issued by government. Critics stating that using threats to get people inoculated will only create more apprehension about vaccines.
Now, let me make two corrections. First, there is no threat. In public health, we don't use threat, we use strategy. And secondly, I think there's been a misunderstanding on the issue of government service. If you go back to the speech by the Cabinet Secretary, Mutahi Kagwe, and if you look at what he said in-person government services, in person. Know that there are many ways in which you can be served. There is now a lot of technology. You can make a phone call, I'll serve you. You can do it digital platform and maybe just send somebody to pick the document. So first and foremost, there is no mandatory vaccination. What we have put in, or what the Minister of Health and the Cabinet Secretary proclaimed, were measures that are so critical to enhance the gains we've made in the war against COVID and prepare us on what is happening in Europe, where we are seeing upsurges, where we are seeing increasing numbers. And then considering that we are going to a festive season, many of these people will be traveling, they'll be coming. Now, and we realize that crowds, places where there are crowds is where we have a lot of transmission. And then we have evidence that unvaccinated transmit the virus more than people who are vaccinated.
You mentioned CS Kagwe. I remember during that press briefing on Sunday, he stated, don't say you are not warned, quote unquote, and I've paraphrased his exact remarks. If the police, for example, hinder you from accessing certain services, that doesn't sound like a threat. And I say this because groups like Amnesty International are stating that that directive could be viewed as unrealistic, flawed, if implemented to the letter.
The issues of human rights, even the Constitution knows there can be limits. I, as a health worker, am vaccinated, and you are telling me that the people coming to my office will be unvaccinated people. I know they are transmitting a highly infectious disease with the potential to kill me. So what is my human right? What right do I have? So the right is not one way, first and foremost. But secondly, if you look at the Public Health Act, Cap 242, it gives the cabinet minister, where the public interest is, there's good public interest, he has powers to institute measures to protect that. But he said for the time being, he's not even going there. He just gave measures and requirements that should really enhance. And I want to ask Kenyans, for example, over Christmas we'll be going, people will be using SGR to go to coast and other places. Now you enter an SGR, there are many tourists who have come, people are in. How comfortable will you be in that SGR cabin if you are not sure people are vaccinated? If by checking a vaccination certificate gives you even better confidence. The other consideration is this. You know Kenya is a tourist destination, and tourism is a major earner. Now, if countries realize we have not put in measures to control COVID, then we start losing our attractiveness.
Okay. And I believe, Dr. Willis, you've made your point. Finally, let me ask you this. There are those who feel that the government should focus more on why there is vaccine hesitancy as opposed to some of the directives that were recently given. Have we fully addressed vaccine hesitancy as a country?
Let me assure Kenyans that we are not dropping. We are using all measures, and all measures work. We still are doing awareness. In fact, we are scaling it up. We are now using more of the vernacular radios. We have worked with counties. We are identifying people who will support that education down there. However, education cannot go on forever. A good student is one who is ready to sit an exam and get a certificate. So we are also realizing some people will say, continue telling us. But this is a pandemic. A fifth wave is coming. We must ensure that it does not claim lives like the other surges.
Dr. Willis Ahwale, thank you so much for your time, and we hope to have you back probably around next month, around the holiday period, because clearly our viewers have a lot of questions for you. That being Dr. Ahwale, Chair of the National COVID-19 Vaccines Task Force, answering some of your questions in regards to the national vaccine rollout strategy and a few new directives or new measures that were given out over this past weekend. You're watching News